What's going on, everyone? Chuck here, and I hope that you are having an absolutely fantastic day today. Even though my beloved Patriots fell short in the postseason this year, that doesn't mean I'm not going to enjoy the Super Bowl with friends and family. And when your team's not in the big game, the best way to enjoy it is to have really delicious food. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make some absolutely delicious Crockpot Philly Cheesesteak Sandwiches. Now, I'm not going to take credit for creating this recipe. I found it on the interwebs, but what I did was I changed a few of the ingredients to sort of match my personal taste, and then I made it for my dad's birthday a few weeks ago, and everybody loved it. And the really cool thing about this particular recipe is that because you're cooking it in the crock pot, it kind of leaves behind this au jus, and so you're making this hybrid Philly cheesesteak French dip sandwich, and it's absolutely delicious. We actually ran out of bread that day, so we just sort of put the meat and the toppings on a plate and just ate it like that, and the meat just falls apart. It's absolutely delicious, because one of the struggles I've always had with making Philly cheesesteak sandwiches in a skillet or something like that is that you bite into the meat, and if you don't have the meat tender enough, you're just pulling out a chunk of the meat, and that doesn't make a really good sandwich to me. I want to be able to bite through it. And this recipe, you can do just that. So right here in front of me are all the ingredients that you'll need to make this recipe. Obviously, if you're making Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, you need a good piece of beef. Now, if you go to Philadelphia, they actually use like thin sliced ribeye most of the time. So the next time Kroger actually has ribeye on sale, I'm gonna try this same recipe with the ribeye. But for now, I'm using a chuck roast because it has really good marbling, which adds to the flavor of the au jus. And it's, you get a lot of meat for a low price. So that's why I went with the chuck roast. Also, going in the crock pot, I have my various seasonings here: salt, pepper, garlic powder, and I love this Montreal steak seasoning that I use. You need beef broth. You need Worcestershire sauce or Worcestershire sauce. And then most of the recipes you'll find tell you to use beer. I don't like beer, I don't drink beer, and even though the alcohol cooks away, I don't like the taste of it, so I actually substituted it for root beer, and I'm partial to the Boylan root beer, and it is really, really good. So I use root beer. You can substitute beer if you would like. Now, you can also, if you're doing this for 8 hours on low in the crock pot, the last hour you can actually put in your vegetables, your peppers and onions and mushrooms. But I like to do this stuff on the side, sort of saute them up and then put them on afterwards and just let the meat cook by itself. But you do you, whatever you want to do. But otherwise, you can put these vegetables in the crock pot if you want, or you don't. And then obviously to top the sandwich, got your provolone cheese, use any kind of cheese you want, and a really nice roll. I use these Lewis steak rolls that I find really, really tasty. And this is basically what you need to make Crockpot Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. Now, you would normally think, well, hey, I'm making a Crockpot meal, so I'm just gonna throw everything in the crock pot. Nah, nah, nah. What we're first gonna do is actually brown this meat and then throw it in the crock pot. So in order to brown the meat, let's go ahead and get the meat prepared. So like I said, I have the McCormick Montreal steak seasoning. I have some garlic powder, backwards, black pepper, and I went ahead and took some salt and I just put in this little thing that we borrowed from the Japanese restaurant. So first, because this is the side we're gonna brown first, so we're gonna put some salt, some pepper, and most recipes that you'll read actually just sort of tell you to stop with salt and pepper, but I'm not most recipes. And we got our garlic powder, and your McCormick Montreal seasoning. Push it in the meat real good. Now we're gonna take this and throw it into the skillet. So I have a skillet on medium-high heat. I add just a tablespoon of olive oil in there. That's a little bit more than a tablespoon. Okay. Now I'm gonna take our meat. We're obviously gonna put down seasoning side down. Shove it in there. Brown that for about 5 minutes. And obviously, while that's browning on that side, you then season the other side. in 5 minutes. Our meat is done browning, so we are gonna throw this in the crock pot. Now, we have all that good stuff. Let's not let that go to waste. We're gonna go ahead and add our root beer here. I'm gonna scrape up all this stuff. All that in there. Need a tablespoon of Worcestershire. Need a cup of the beef broth. And one thing I forgot to mention, let's go over the ingredients. A can of condensed French onion soup. All right, so now we're gonna put this in the crock pot on low for 8 hours. So it has been 8 hours. So now we are taking it out of the crock pot, putting it on the cutting board, and it's gonna fall apart. The key thing is what we're doing here is we're just gonna take it out to let it rest. Now is also a good time to take a taste test. So it's been a few minutes and I've already removed all the visible large chunks of fat. A little bit of fat's not the end of the world, but the bigger chunks we went ahead and removed. So now we're just gonna chop it up, shred it up. All right, so now that it's all cut up, we're gonna go ahead and take this and throw it back in the crock pot. It's all back in there. You got that beautiful, delicious au jus. Now you just let it warm or cook it for a little longer, whatever you want to do, but we gotta cut up some peppers and onions. Although, like I said, I'm not gonna put any peppers and onions in this. I'm gonna cook that on the side saute style so that we just sort of top it. I'm not gonna actually mix it with the meat. But you can do that if you want to. Random hand movements. This is seriously a delicious sandwich. Use condiments if you want, but it really doesn't need it. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, comment below if you have a favorite homemade Philly cheesesteak recipe. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and God bless.